If you're unfamiliar, you get placement, or you get points for placement, you get points for elimination. 14 points total for placing highest, for achieving that victory royale, and that will matter so much over all of everything. But you've got to find the balance. You've got to find some eliminations, because that is kind of some guaranteed points every time you pick one up. And the placements, well, you got to see how it is. It's very difficult to actually accrue these in a competitive game.
That's right, man. 100 of the very best will clash and battle it out. Now, of course, what's on the line here? The Axe of Champions will be that trophy that they can take into game and let the others in the lobby recognize them as a champion. But also, take a look at your prizing breakdown here. $80,000 for first place. And, of course, everyone that has made it this far will walk away with something, which is awesome to see. And, I mean, even if they were to place, say, last, you still have to recognize these are 100 of the best players in EU. Make sure to recognize them for their skill. Here is an overall breakdown of EU. $800,000 available there, and then NA East, which we will be back for later. And don't forget, we have other regions breaking down there as well, which we will take a look at in a moment. But real quick, guys, I gotta talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's Batman. Genius comes in many forms. Whether you're dangerously funny, creating havoc with wild plants, or flooding the island with your best intentions, it often comes along with a companion, madness. Become everyone's nemesis with the Last Laugh bundle featuring the Joker, Poison Ivy, Midas Rex, matching cosmetics, and 1,000 V-Bucks. You can pre-order the bundle through your favorite retailers, and it will be available on November 17th. So definitely check out the blog for all the details. And if you can't wait for more DC characters, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and my personal favorite Batman will be back in the item shop for a limited time. Get their cosmetic sets before they disappear into the night. And of course, let's not forget Joyride has hit the game, and we will not be seeing vehicles in the competitive playlist, so just keep that in mind as we are watching. Now guys, I did kind of touch on it just a moment ago. We do have those other regions that are facing off. We should probably check it with OCE and see how things are going.
Yeah, I think we should for sure, because the competition over there was a preview of everybody else. These guys got the first taste of the Grand Finals action, and if you watched last night, it was certainly nice. And we got to award our first Axe of Champions.
Yep, the axe was given out all the way towards the winner, and this man's going to be having that pickaxe to use towards the entire next season. It's going to be awesome to see. The winner of OCE overall was, of course, Jinx, RNG, Jinxie Fishy, and total points of 75, the Oceanic champion. What a run that he had above the rest.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And this man was contested, too. For yours unfamiliar with what that means off spawn, when he dropped, there was somebody fighting him, which means that it's very difficult to do what he did. But 75 points. And something else to note about Jinx, this is a man of stature, somebody who has won the previous FNCS, so he was already holding on to that Axe of Champion. He gets to maintain going into this season.
Winners stay winning because as well, from second place all the way down to 10th, very familiar names. Repulse, Asfit, Rax, Worthy all the way up to second, Zore, Leia, Moose, Link at 7th, and then Fresh at 6th, who's been playing so phenomenally over during the day. Had some help as well from chat, as well as Arab coaching him throughout the entire process. Past that, too, on the second place of Oceania, 11th down to 20th place. It is the same names we keep seeing, but look how close it was overall. Look at the prize money these guys got broken down. 40 points down to 36. Mountain holding 11th. RBK, I don't know, which is Volks holding down all the way to the 20th slot.
Such a close competition, and this is going to be a nice identifier here as we get ready for EU. I mean, watch these point thresholds. Look at how close that is. We will more than likely see this in EU unless someone decides to break away. With that being said, though, Asia also has a champion. Fram #1 holding down that #1 spot, 47 points, no victorials, but 11 elimination and an average placement of 25th. That in itself is a statement to be made, and now he will hold the Axe of Champions high.
But it was so close, Zeke. Look at the eliminations, 11 for him over 6 games. That is slightly under 2 elims. And you know what? It counts. Everything matters. Tiebreakers certainly do in this case. 3 people tied for points at first place. That is ridiculous. Unheard of. Haruhiko coming in second, and Peter Pan. Unfortunately, these guys fell with the tiebreaker of eliminations. Fram will win the Asia region.
Still, another tiebreaker back-to-back, 44 points, 4 ways through from 3rd all the way down to 7th place. That is insane to see. Still, that story continues on the second page. Asia was so close, so competitive. And as you mentioned, Bala, every elimination did indeed matter. Once again, Rizart down to Riru from 11th to 13th place. They were tied. You go all the way down to 18th to 20th. Wildhawk, Bob, these guys were tied too, and it was their individual performance every game that stood out. So remember, every single game we've watched today, every single play matters the most.
That's right, man. And this is something we're going to talk about for the whole time, right? Is every interaction matters. Every time two people square up, one of them will be eliminated, while the other is allowed to continue moving and continue earning those points, while the other that lost has to wait. They have to reset and come back into the game with a fresh mindset and hope to earn more points.
And these guys have been doing it all weekend long since Friday. They've been playing in these set lobbies, these very difficult games, and for some of them, they're done. They've already played it through, but for others, regions that we're looking forward to, EU up next, and these guys have such a competitive field. Look at the first list of qualified players, and that is just 1/5.
And they've gone through so many different hurdles. We had 4 heats in total, top 25s qualifying from each and every one, down to the final 100 players. These guys are at the top of their game, and they're going to be playing against other people who are used to winning. On this page alone, I'm looking at Scouts, Kezix, Seventor, Mongrel, big, insane, legendary names looking to get another title under their belts.
Reason was on that page too, the player who won Heat 4 against people like Letwick. Flois came out of Heat 1 with a dominant performance. We're going to be looking at him to see if he can maintain a good start out of the early game. Tayson, who had the first start in Heat 2 with the back-to-back victory royales, and we've talked about the format, how much that matters. His lead was almost insurmountable after only 2 games.
And whether you're watching in-game in Party Royale or anywhere online, just pick a name over here, follow it through, find a new favorite player, and follow your favorite old ones too, like Lecce, like Fasroki, XW2, who's an insane winner, winning back-to-back games through all stages of the competition. These guys are about to play some of the hardest games of their lives and are going to give us some of the best Fortnite we have ever watched.
And yesterday was literally like a little taste of that, right? And we've seen these pockets of people already setting their eyes on grand finals. Today will bring some of the best Fortnite we've ever seen. I mean, there's no way of knowing. Will someone break away and hold off strong? Will people go head-to-head and kind of pull each other back? And at the very end, someone will cross the finish line. No way of knowing, guys. This will all unfold before our very eyes.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke usually asks me the question, who do you think is going to win? I'm going to answer before you get to ask any one of these 100 players because they all deserve it 100% all the way up to this point. I'm serious. It's anyone's game. Every single person on all those pages for Europe are so good.
And I want to add one thing to that, too, because it might be anybody's game, but also think about the fact that one player after all of this, out of 100, is going to be walking away the winner, the champion. That is just mind-blowing to me.
Yesterday, we got to see the top 25 move on, and we thought about which 75 would fall. Now it's the 99 that will not make the cut. With that being said, though, let's take a look at a replay that has led us to this point.
Yeah. If you haven't joined us on the broadcast just yet, there was 4 heats to play through, and each of those had 100 players. Top 25 moved on from every single one of them. We're watching the winner of heat number 1, and we're highlighting him because he won in a surprising fashion, coming out from behind and dueling a lot of other top players, and he did it with style, winning a game with something like 5 eliminations and then taking the lead from there and being consistent all the way through. That's why Advise is certainly somebody to pay attention to.
Yeah, the name to remember is Wave Advise, especially anyone having Wave in front of their names. But just look at the way he broke down every game. It wasn't something under control for him at all times. It was always back against the wall, but always found a way through to win every single time.
And he was dueling against players like Clement, who are going to be here today. But moving on into Heat 2, if you missed that one, this was electric. This was fantastic. We already talked about Tayson's back-to-back, but he did it again with style, too. That's why we have to keep an eye on him going into this. And there's some interesting things about him. We saw a sneak peek about that landing spot, and that's where our previous FNCS Invitational Solos champion came from, his duo partner, Janice.
And Janice is playing today too, so these guys will have to face off against each other at the same drop spot in the same end games, and it's unpredictable as to what will actually end up breaking down.
There's another player too in that heat. It was Kinzel. They ended up dueling. Also somebody who came out of Steamy Stack, so we'll have to keep that in mind. But moving into Heat 3, this is something that caught a lot of people by surprise. Why? Because Xweez, while he has been pretty consistent overall, his placements in FNCS and other tournaments like that, nobody expected what he did throughout the qualifiers. Nobody expected a second place on day 3, into a first place on day 4, into a first place in the Heat yesterday.
The most surprising performance by far, absolutely, and the most impressive in style. XP's always puts himself into positions where he can show his flair, show his aim, and give us a good insight to what shots he likes to take. All these shots always culminate to a win. Just look how fast he is past edits, landing the bullets that he needs to land to be able to get eliminations and then win games close range, 4 people back to back, and he did this in multiple games.
And that's not all. While Xweez might have dominated his heat, there's still one more. To find the last 25 players, we had to go through one of the most difficult ones overall. There was players like Mongrel in the next heat. There was players like Reason, and those two have been going back-to-back against each other for quite some time, starting from the day 1 3 weeks ago. But Reason showed up again, and even though they dueled and took first and second in this heat, Reason seemed to come out far and ahead, the champion of that heat, and for one reason, I think, no pun intended, the Holly Hedges uncontested drop spot.
Yeah, with no one fighting you down early game, you have a huge advantage on playing the rest of your game out, going for positions, going for wins. That being said, though, Reason and Mongrel are going to be able to battle it out once again here today in these grand finals, and it's the final round for these guys to wrap up their story.
And the important thing to note from Reason, he did win back-to-back in Heat number 4 yesterday against players like Letwick, who had even Kit Shockwave Launcher to try to put him down. He does not care and will go for the biggest streak of 2 back-to-back games in terms of eliminations and wins. So that total amount of points, ridiculous from Reason, we'll have to see if he's in form today.
That's the biggest question across the board, right? Who is in form? A lot of these players, they already know the field. They've already scouted each other out, and just like we've done our research, they have too. Now the question is, who will hold strong and who will walk away the champion? With that being said, guys, it is time to get into the first game of the day here in EU. So let's get ready to toss it over to our casters. We've got Clay Staling and Sundown to take us through all the action. Gentlemen, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Jonesies, Bonesies, he's, she's, theys, and thems, welcome to the first game of the FNCS Grand Finals in EU, and I hope you got your popcorn ready, whether it's literally or the emote in Party Royale, because this game is about to be a blast.
I am ready for seeing all the action unfold. I hope everybody's got their favorite emote out, whether it be take a seat, whether they're with their glow sticks out raving. I'm ready. I know you're ready, Sundown. It's going to be amazing.
Enough from us. Let's take us into game number 1. The analyst desk set it up so well. Shout outs to Zeke, Bala, and Showager. But now we're into match number 1. This is it. 6 games to decide who will walk away with that Axe of Champions. Who will be the top player in arguably the most competitive region in Fortnite. It does have the most participants, and there's $800,000 up for grabs here, and here's the initial drop spot.
And it looks like everyone's sticking true to where they planned on dropping. We have 3 players in Steamy. We've got, I think, only 1 or 2 players there in Caddy Corner, the 4 in Lazy Lake that we've seen time and time and again from Europe. And, of course, we've got Rezon and Holly Hedges, and it seems like he may be alone.
And one of the best comments I think I saw coming out is, wow, everyone is really scared of Rezon. And if you look at some of those early game drop spots, both in heats and I'm assuming now in the grand finals, everyone stays really far away from him. And you can see that in the bottom right-hand corner on the map. Not a single triangle remotely close to him representing another player. That's because he's done such a good job over the course of the entirety of this tournament to stake out the claim, and then also getting a nice little elite chest right there, granting him the legendary burst AR, and he's set to go now. He can begin his rotation and head to center zone. He has those 6 crash pads, which we've seen him execute on so well, and he's basically set to now just farm the materials he needs and transition into the mid game. However, we've seen him go aggressive time and time again with this similar loadout, as now we swing on over.
And you saw how careful he was being. He wasn't taking a chance looting that chest. He didn't want anything to go wrong in game number 1, because that sets the pace of your games going forward. Whether you get out to a head start or whether you get to climb your way back from an unfortunate off-spawn elimination. However, Hen, on the other side of it, does have players nearby. Loadout not as great as what we just saw on Rezon, but someone that also did very well in the qualifiers. Came out, I believe, got a 2nd place there in one of the days. He's got that Cyber Rival's territory, and he's looking. He's peppered up. He's looking for an elimination. I think he's going to be able to catch this play off guard. Snipe's going to come through. He's going to wait, and he does. Ardent's going to go down. Elimination comes over for him.
Brilliantly done there by Hen to set up that ambush on the side. We've talked about it time and time again, how you need to be careful, but in the early game in particular, it's so hard to really know where your opponents are, keeping track of them. If somebody does get that first shot down and you're not able to react, it can be game ending. And going so hard, a 0-point game, and now you have to sit back and watch everyone else have fun while you're sitting there waiting for the next game. As now we hop on board, and Candy, who's going to be in the exact same situation as Milan, turns that one around. And someone who's really been playing a lot better as of late, Clay.
He has indeed, and I believe we have 2 Milans here in this grand final. So we've got a Loft Milan and Normal Milan, but both of them have been playing very, very well and have consistently been making it into that top 25. It seems like almost every single qualifier. So it's really good to see consistency being rewarded, especially with the way the format is. The format rewards those high-placing, high-consistent games. So if you're able to get to top 15, top 25, top 10 every single game, you're going to start to make your way to the top of the leaderboard.
And that's what the goal is for the end. We talked about so much yesterday how it's, hey, top 25 is all that matters. Well, here, everyone wants to be number 1. You have to walk away with that top spot. It's a solos competition if you want the grand prize in the Axe of Champions and all the clout that comes with saying, hey, I am the best player in my region after the weeks of qualifiers and then coming down to this. And Mr. X, who had a beautiful run yesterday to even get him here. The miracle back-to-back-to-back eliminations, but now under pressure from Rifle, going to get in directly on top of him, but sticking straight to the AR spray. He didn't have a shotgun. That's what we talk about. Those early game fights, he just had the assault rifle and the SMG, opting to stick with the AR, and I think that might have been the wrong call, as the SMG could have offered him slightly more damage in that situation, but Rifle comes through and punishes it.
And it was such a close call. That Siphon was just the difference maker once that elimination came through. You see, now on another engagement, it's between Wolfies and Maestro. Maestro running off this side on the front foot. The pedal is down. Maestro wants to just continue to push down. Shots go through. He's going to break through the wall, and Wolfies is going to go down.
That was a huge pickup there from Maestro Wolfies, who was the of the World Cup. We've seen him play so aggressively, the young player from the UK, but when he's put on the back foot, it can be a little bit challenging there. Maestro did come through, got dropped down to 48 HP, but don't forget, in arena and tournament settings, there is that siphon enabled. That means when you eliminate an opponent, you will get either 50 HP or 50 shield back, depending on which one you end up needing. It prioritizes health first, and then they will also drop all of their materials, all of their loot, and an additional 150 materials, so an extra 15 builds that you can go over and sweep up. That ends up being really key, particularly in the mid and the late game now, as we're on board here with a Ventex, who takes 2 really big shots and is put on the back foot.
He is, but luckily enough for him, Crash does not have any shield pop. Now, it's not going to be as good as he is going to be finding time to get those minis in that big shield pop. And Intel over there needs to find an aggressive push into the box and needs to catch him off guard. If Ventex is not able to get this medkit off, this does not look well for them. But it seems like the medkit will be popped, so he does get back to fighting HP. Under 15 HP is enough to withstand some shots, as Krez is now on the back foot. That's exactly what he needed to do. He needed to turn that defense that he was waiting on into that offensive moment. And now Krez is in a very bad situation. 6 builds remaining. no HP to really work with. He's going to have to hit a really big charge shot there. Dana coming through, not going to connect on these shots. He goes in the box, but Crezes hits the shot, and that's another elimination for him.
And you talked about it. He needed to hit that big charge shot, holding it up and punishing the player. And particularly when you see two players box to box fighting with charged shotguns, it's really difficult if you're not able to get that finishing blow right away, like No Luck Nebby does there, finding Kira to close out the fight, because you can have.
Oh, Nebby, what? Don't even forget my point there. Nebby showing the power of the hunting rifle, showing up, catching two players on the outside. However, look in the bottom right-hand corner. A third player is now rotating by. So can Nebby get all of these resources and get out without getting engaged on? But those are two monstrous shots. He's got to feel confident there, and definitely not living up to his name. Plenty of luck going on.
And you took the words from my mouth. Nebby with an amazing aim there, just getting what he needed to get started. However, someone who is not having amazing luck is Janus right now. 134 effective HP. It means he fought either off spawn on rotation. Now he is going into the orchard, which does allow him these campfires and the apples that drop that give you 5 HP per consume. So he's going to be in a good spot. He's able to really farm up. But Janus drops Steamy stacks. And look at his medal count. It was only 97. Coming out of Steamy with only 97 medal is not what he's used to. And this is definitely impacting his game plan.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough there. Also, tons of players will know where he is, stoking that campfire, putting off the smoke signal. You can see him, those apples dropping, but instead opting to burn the extra wood. Good trade-off there and good awareness of where he was on the map. However, you do see Spen is lurking and trying to catch out the FNCS Invitational winner here. Janus over on the side, and he does. He gets him real quick. That's the problem. Again, we talk about it, the hunting rifle on the side. If you're not ready for it, it can be a game ender right there. You get caught out farming. And honestly, I think that's a little bit on Janus there. You don't want to be on the edge of the zone and caught gaining materials. Like, yes, you did just get in. You can feel safe. You're back up at that 100 health, 100 shield threshold. But you have to know other players are rotating from that side and going to be behind you. And Spen is actually going to get harassed there as he tries to rotate out. We're going to hop on over to a three-way fight going on over here.
Oh, and now already down to just two players. Controller getting into the boxes and getting the shots, picking up two eliminations back to back. Flecken gonna fall there, and these are what you need to do in solos. You need to get into the box and you need to finish the eliminations quickly, because like we saw, if you come and you fight and you box fight and you build fight, and more people are gonna come and they're gonna realize that, and you are going to fall. So very good play there from Controller.
And so far, it's been the story of the third party. You hear players talk about it all the time, whether it's your friend or your favorite streamer. That third party is the extra player who comes in. So if you're taking a 1v1 and then somebody else rotating by says, oh, you guys are preoccupied. First, we saw Nebby picking up the two shots there, then Controller closing it out with that epic tactical shotgun. Going to be on board here with Ovation Orion. We've seen him pull off a number of plays, but again, really good at kind of those ambush-style tactics, as you can see here, trying to set up a little bit on this player who's rotating in front of him. You can see the map in the bottom right-hand corner. That is the next storm zone revealed, so you can see we're pulling a little bit central. We're just kind of south of the authority, or just over the authority, with a little bit of a southwestern side there. So most of the players will have time. The Slurpy Swamp players will have tons of priority, and Storm Surge has just turned on, which is something you might not be familiar with if you're watching there. So Storm Surge is actually on in every game, but is only activated when you're above a certain number of players left. That number of players for the third zone is 70. So with 83 players currently left, 13 will be impacted. What it does is those who haven't done enough damage to the opposing players will then take 25 damage every 10 seconds. This is to try and encourage a little bit of active play, which we see here from Orion taking out Queasy, who's going to be queasy about that, just being game-ended right there before the rotation occurs, not picking up any points in that match.
And what a smart play. He went in different angles and didn't just crash pad off the top, because he knew Queasy would have been expecting that, and found an angle, got in the box, got the elimination. That also, with Storm Surge, it causes people to make plays like that. Arion may have decided that, you know what, a couple tags were good, I'm good to go, move on. Because I put him pretty high up in the Storm Surge, but he didn't want to take the chance. He wanted to make sure he was above at least 100 damage on the threshold. So he decided, I got to go in, I got to get in the box, because when Storm Surge starts hitting you, nobody's going to let you shoot them. No one's going to let you even look at them. They're going to be sitting in their boxes. They're going to sit there and wait and not even open windows, not even make any movements. because they know, hey, that guy's getting hit by a big purple lightning bolt. We can't attack him. Is well, all of a sudden Phoenix is actually going in, but maybe a little bit of a misplace, he gets eliminated.
Gets punished right away, and Tigwe has everything you could possibly want for a box fight there. I mean, just look at the loadout, having the epic tactical shotgun, the epic burst AR, crash pads, plenty of shields. So Phoenix might have felt a little pressure to go in and create some space, but Tigwe punishing very succinctly there as now we swing on board. Milan, Seventor, Kiko, and Anas all directly on top of each other. They become legends. Anas has played incredibly well. Clement also joining in on the party, and this is what we talk about, that Storm Surge. All the players who below, Anas being one of them, are going to be forced to find tags. That damage is going to start coming through. He's going to need to convert on it, and he converts brilliantly there, picking up Supremacy's Clement in #1 elimination, and also closing in on that first placement threshold, Clay.
It was such a beautiful play by Anas because he knew Clement had that bush. He said, you know what, he's going to go for the pickaxe. I'm just going to go ahead and edit that wall out so he can get the initial shot, and that got him the elimination. That initial shot there gave him the damage just to follow up with another tack shot. And with that rare tactical shotgun, it does a lot of damage if you're able to hit all the pellets, and that's exactly what he did. Now, on his way, he got the pepper placement threshold, just came through as well, and now he's moving in. He's got a very great loadout to secure himself a very good placement here. And we know Anas is very, very capable, like you talked about, and he's already stalking another player. He's looking to take down AX Controller.
Yeah, and that's Controller 007 from the FNCS Invitational. We saw him have a number of really solid performances. Still need 3 players to go down from that Storm Surge threshold, but Anas just trying to kind of follow in this rotation path, get as close to center of zone. So if you're kind of new to watching competitive Fortnite, joining for the first time in Party Royale or Twitch or YouTube or Twitter or WatchFortnite.com, what do you care about as you're watching this game as Anas will take it down, or what are you looking for? Mongrel and Thomas HD also picking up eliminations to put us below the Storm Surge threshold. The first thing is whether or not people are picking up eliminations. You can see that to the right of the player's name that's right next to kind of the little mark there. And that will represent 1 point every single time as they go through. Additionally, you're worried about them picking up placement points. In this format, the first one occurs after 25 players have gone down, then the next one occurs after 50 players have gone down, then it's every 10 and 5 players. So when somebody ends up falling in 41st or 31st or 26th, that's a huge changeover. But now, during the middle part of the game, as everyone's rotating through, what they're looking to do is establish space for themselves, make sure they're safe, and then find tags so they're not threatened by that Storm Surge that we were talking about ahead of time. As now we hop on board here with MCS like Squeezy, who has placed top 25 in 78% of his games this FNCS, best in the EU, and that's something to contrast with the fact that he also plays really aggressive in the early and the mid game. If he gets caught out and he's able to convert, he's had some of the highest elimination totals throughout the entirety of the FNCS, Clay.
And I was going to say, I'm surprised he's not going into this player's box that's literally just fishing in front of them. Someone else tried it, and he's waiting. You can tell he wants to get into this box. As soon as he sees that player start to make moves into the other box, or maybe he finds out exactly where they are, he wants to go in. But he's got Letwick right above him, so you can tell he's being a little bit more cautious this time around. In the heat and the qualifiers, he knew he had a little bit of leeway after that great performance that he had. He was able to play a little bit more aggressive and still get top 25, which is insanely impressive. Now, the biggest impact of the game right now is going to be this Kit Shockwave launcher in Thomas HD's inventory. He's already got the elimination because of it. He's also already near the next zone. He doesn't have to rotate very far, which is really good for him because he only has 94 materials.
He only has 94 materials, and he's right by the priority on high zone. This is the 4th zone, which means it's the last safe zone that's completely inside the current safe zone. After that, the 5th one will be the half in, half out, which kind of signals the transition into the end game as Thomas helps end Sebi's game there. He's going to be sent back and have to queue up after that, and Thomas hits him with a favorite emote. Hey, if you got that emote and you're in Party Royale, mimic it right now. Let Thomas know you're with him and sending him the aid, because he has a really good shot to ride this game out with where he's positioned, because after the 4th zone, you don't want to head super central. So all of a sudden, if that half in, half out zone pulls to the south and is on this high ground, and he has all the shockwave launcher plus a launch pad plus the mythic charge shotgun, it's going to be really difficult to force him out of a priority position. He's going to be somebody to watch
over the course of this game who's going to impact the other players around him.
And he's already doing that just with his AR. He impacted Sebi. He's going to take down passive. And this is very, very good for him because he doesn't have to go too aggressive to get these eliminations. They're kind of being handed to him here as he's just taking a grasp of his surroundings, looking at every possible angle and getting eliminations. And speaking of that, Mr. Savage going to pick up an elimination there onto for Strokey.
Yeah, and you can see that action kind of being driven as players are forced to rotate in and start to get priority position, because it's not only just about being safe here, it's about establishing yourself for the next rotation, because that half in, half out is so important in terms of priority. But right now, Reason is 5 below the damage threshold. So once this zone clears, he'll start ticking. You want to keep an eye on the top left and then the bottom right-hand corner. That number will need to drop down to 50 players before Storm Surge turns off. And if anybody we're watching is below the threshold, they'll start taking that 25 damage every 10 seconds. And Reason just able to get himself above it with a nice tag there, and he's starting to get aggressive. We talk about the utility of the crash pads. We saw it in the package beforehand, and Ball and Shadow talked about how good he can be aggressive on